can't believe I'm actually going to film this video. It's been such a long time since I've sat down and talked in front of the camera and showed my face in front of the camera. I'm so awkward. I feel like a broken robot right now. Oh my god, I'm scared. Hello everyone, it's Adiria and long time no see. It's been such a long time since I've done a video like this one. It feels so strange actually. To be honest with you, I don't really have an excuse as to why I haven't filmed or uploaded a new video in such a long time. I just didn't really know what to film. I didn't have the time to film. The timing was not right. It was always noisy inside the house. I didn't know what content to film and upload. So far, my channel has been all about K-pop and K-dramas, and it will continue to be like this. But I really want to step out of my comfort zone and upload new content that I'm really passionate about. That's why I decided to film this video. So basically, as you guys know, I studied English language and literature in university. I graduated last year. Right now I'm doing my master's on the teaching of English as a second language. I had so many literature courses in my university years, and I kinda had a trauma surrounding books in general. I didn't want to read any books outside of university because I felt like I was constantly having a headache every time I picked up a book. And now that this is kind of gone, now that this is kind of, you know, in the past, because I don't really have to study that much for my master's, I decided to pick up reading. And I haven't read a book outside of school or university in probably around 12 to 15 years. I'm 23 now, and yeah, it's been that long. It's been a very long time. And I think it was in June. I am a very big fan of The Clockwork Reader here on YouTube. I have been watching her videos for years, even though I wasn't a fan of reading books. But I don't know, it was something about her character and the way she reviewed all these books that was really interesting and entertaining for me. And one of her favorite books is The Night Circus. So that was the very first book I read back in June, I think. I went to the bookstore, I bought the book, I read it, I loved it. It has become my personality trait right now. I think it's probably my favorite book ever. To be honest with you, it's tied with another book that I'm going to mention a bit later, but I loved The Night Circus so much. What I really liked about it was the writing. The writing was excellent. Erin Morgenstern has become my favorite author right now because of her writing. I found the writing in The Night Circus so enchanting, so magical, so mesmerizing, so ethereal. I could literally smell, see, hear everything that was around the circus. It was so realistic but magical at the same time. I don't know how else to describe it. I love the story so much. I read the book, I think, in 1 week. I believe that 1 week is a long time considering that it was summer break and I had so much free time. But since it was my very first book after so many years, I took my time with it. I took my time to properly digest it and live inside it. So yeah, I think it took me a week. Again, it's probably my favorite book ever. I can never recommend it enough. So please, 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 if you haven't read it, please do consider reading it right now. It was incredible. Okay, I'm on my Goodreads account right now because I don't remember the order in which I read all these books. The next book I read was It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. Yeah, I know that this is an unpopular opinion, especially on TikTok, but I really liked this book. I found her storytelling really interesting, really engaging, and I just couldn't stop reading it. I think it took me a day. It was my first time ever trying an audiobook. I listened to the audiobook and I had the best time ever. I loved it so much. And since then, I've only been listening to audiobooks with an exception of 2 to 3 books, I think. I loved it so much. Please search the trigger warnings for this book because it's really disturbing. It is not a romance book in any way. So yeah, please be careful with this book. Oh, I forgot to say, I gave both The Night Circus and It Ends With Us 5 stars. Now that I think about it, I think It Ends With Us deserves 4 stars. But I don't think I will change it in my Goodreads account. But anyways, next up I read The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. Please excuse me if I butcher up any of these names. English is not my first language. I read The Love Hypothesis. I really disliked this book. I found it extremely boring. I could not connect with any of the characters. I found the story really uninteresting, really dull. And yeah, I did not have a good time with this. I gave this 1 star. Honestly, I would not recommend this book at all. Moving on, I read People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed this book. What I really liked about it was the friends to lovers trope, which is my favorite trope ever. If a book has friends to lovers, please recommend it to me because I love this trope so much, both in books and in TV series or movies or anything like that. It is superior for me. I loved it so much. It was very wholesome. It was very entertaining, very relaxing, very heartwarming. Not much happened. There's not much drama. There aren't many misunderstandings or anything like that. It was very easy to read. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. As I said, I gave this 4 stars. And then I read Before the Coffee Gets Cold by, oh my god, it's a Japanese name. Please excuse my pronunciation. It's Toshikazu Kawaguchi. It's by this author. I really enjoyed it. I've only read the first book. I think there are 2 more books. I think this is a series. But anyways, I read the first book. I really enjoyed it. 4 stars for this book. What I really enjoyed about this book was the magical realism element in the story. And I think that magical realism has become my favorite genre. I don't know, it's something about, the supernatural, but not really supernatural. It's something about humans being confined, or restricted by something that happens in their environment that they cannot control. And these kinds of books delve into the human condition and the human psyche. And I think this specific book did a really good job at that thing. I cannot speak right now. But anyways, great book, 4 stars. I will eventually read the other books as well, but I have so many books in my TBR already that I don't really know when I will be able to squeeze them into my, to read list. Then I read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins. I gave this 4 stars, I think. Yes, I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed this book. I have never read anything like this before, or I haven't really watched any TV series or movies that had, a similar theme as in this book. So it was quite a surprise for me. I really liked the pacing of this book. In the beginning it was a bit slow, but I like slow books like that. And then it kept, building up. I truly enjoyed reading about all the 7 husbands of Evelyn Hugo. The plot twist was great. So yeah, this was a book that I really enjoyed. And then I read Milk and Honey. I'm pretty sure this was a poetry collection. It's by Rupi Kaur, I think. I gave this 3 stars. Honestly, it was a bit mediocre. I liked some of the poems in this collection, but other poems were very, Tumblr-like. They were very basic and quite cringy at times. But yeah, this was okay. I didn't really mind it. Then I read The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry. I gave this 5 stars. It was incredible. Again, some magical realism. Amazing. Throughout the entire book, I kept thinking about how much I would love to see a movie adaptation of this. I think that it would be great to see this with my own eyes instead of, reading about it. So yeah, great book, 5 stars. It was amazing. Then I read Hopeless by Colleen Hoover. I gave this 5 stars. And I would like to read my review that I left on Goodreads because it's quite funny. So this was the most Wattpad fanfiction, immature, high-teen book I've ever read in my life. Yet I enjoyed every single second of it. I acknowledge the fact that Colleen Hoover's writing is so bad to the point where it's a disgrace to actual good writing and good books. But man, her stories are so interesting and have me crying, laughing and squealing in the span of just a few seconds. Everything was wrong about this book. It was extremely problematic. I can't get over the fact that the protagonists are just high schoolers. And it's so badly written, but she just knows how to make me feel things I've never felt before. Her stories always tackle really important issues, and she actually manages to teach you something through the characters, despite her doing so in the most problematic and disturbing way. Despite all of that, I love this book. I still prefer It Ends With Us because it has scarred me for life, but this was definitely a 5-star book for me. So yeah, I don't think I need to say anything else. I really liked this book. And then I went into a mini Colleen Hoover marathon and I read Reminders of Him. I gave this 5 stars again. To be honest with you, I would change all of these Colleen Hoover books to 4 stars. But anyways, at the time I gave it 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. Moving on, I think we should move on to the next book that I read, which was Beach Read by Emily Henry. I gave this 2 stars. Honestly, I don't really get the hype around this book. I found it really dull, really uninteresting. It was perfectly okay. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either. So yeah, I did not really have a great time with this book. And then I read Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I gave this 4 stars. I think this was this author's debut novel, I'm pretty sure. And I really liked this book. Again, the friends to lovers trope, which I adore so much. But yeah, that was Every Summer After. And then I went back to Colleen Hoover and I read Ugly Love. When I read this, I think I rated it 4 stars. But then I started, reflecting upon it and reading other reviews and seeing all the TikToks. And to be honest with you, I ended up not enjoying it that much. So I gave this 3 stars. It's right in the middle. So it's not that good, but not that bad either. Then I read my very first memoir, and it's by Jennette McCurdy. I read I'm Glad My Mom Died. First of all, cracking title. This was absolutely heartbreaking, disturbing. Please search up all the trigger warnings. I listened to the audiobook, of course, but this time it was narrated by her. And at times, her voice was cracking and you could hear her sniffling. It was just so incredibly heartbreaking. I have never said this in a video before, but iCarly used to be my favorite TV show ever. I'm pretty sure it still is. So it was really heartbreaking for me as a fan to hear all these behind the scenes stories throughout the production of iCarly and throughout the life of Jennette McCurdy. I'm pretty sure that this book will stay, inside my mind for a very long time. I truly enjoyed it. Then I read Book Lovers by Emily Henry. 2 stars for this one. I have no major feelings towards this book. It was, the same situation as Beach Read. It wasn't that good, but it wasn't that bad either. I was kind of bored. I did not really vibe with this book. Then I read Losing Hope by Colleen Hoover. I'm pretty sure this is a novella, and it's a sequel, I think, to Hopeless. It's a different POV from what I can remember. I gave this 3 stars. I wrote, it was basically the exact same as Hopeless, but from a different perspective, yet it was still so good and I didn't feel bored at all. Moving on, I read The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. I think that's how you pronounce it. I gave this 2 stars, and it's actually the same situation as Ugly Love. When I finished reading it, I gave this 4 stars. I had a great time with this book, but then I kept thinking about it and I started reflecting upon it, and I realized that it's not a very well written book, so I changed my rating and gave this 2 stars. It was a weird situation, I don't really remember that much from this book, so I'm going to move on to the next one. The next one is Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. I have heard so many people talking about this book. I thought that it would be, something really extraordinary and groundbreaking, and oh my god, this book will become my favorite book ever. It it didn't become my favorite book ever. I think it became my least favorite book ever. I gave this 1 star, and if I could, I would actually give this 0 stars. I'm really sorry to all the people who like this book, but I did not enjoy my time at all. It was so boring. I could not stand any of the characters. I was not interested in any of the themes and in anything that happened in this book. I did not have a great time with this. I really struggled to finish this. So yeah, 1 star, but if I could, I would give it 0 stars. Then I read Finding Cinderella, and I think this is also a novella and a continuation of Hopeless. I gave this 2 stars. It wasn't bad or anything like that, just a bit boring and unoriginal for a Colleen Hoover book. So yeah, 2 stars for this one. Now I'm really excited for the next one because it's actually my favorite book ever, along with The Night Circus. And this book is called You've Reached Sam, and it is by Dustin Tao, I'm pretty sure. I gave this 5 stars. If I could, I would give this 1 billion stars. It's my favorite book ever. I wrote a very long and detailed review on Goodreads. But the first thing I wrote is, I don't think I will ever read something that will top this. This was the best thing I've ever experienced. This was the best book I've ever read. I cried so much to the point I almost got a heart attack. My breath hitched to the point that I couldn't breathe properly for minutes. I got a severe headache. My whole body was trembling. I couldn't see anything in front of me, and I just let my body fall to the floor because I couldn't control my moves. I wish I was kidding. I wish I was kidding. I felt this entire book to my bones. I felt this entire book with my whole soul. I'm so heartbroken. I'm so devastated. This story meant so much to me. I can't help but wonder why there are so many people that did not like this book, even though it's this amazing. Perhaps because they can't relate, but I for sure can. So yeah, after finishing this book, I was completely destroyed. I was scarred for life. I could not move my body because I was just heartbroken. My sister was here while I was listening to the audiobook with my earphones on, and she could literally see me bawling my eyes out. She would just make fun of me for doing that. Anyways, when I finished the audiobook, I immediately went to the bookstore and bought a physical copy for myself. Because yeah, it's my favorite book ever, and I will definitely be reading this again sometime next year, I think towards the summertime. Yeah, my favorite book ever. I don't have anything else to say. Moving on, I read Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. I gave this 2 stars. I acknowledge the fact that it's a very well written book, and it was about an interesting topic, but I found it really boring. I think the pacing was very off and I could not connect with any of the characters. So yeah, I gave this 2 stars. I'm very sorry to all the people who liked it. Then I went back to Colleen Hoover and I read Verity. 4 stars. This was amazing. Yeah, the plot twist was great. I did not expect that. I will not give any spoilers because you should read this book without knowing anything about it, just like what I did. So yeah, please read it without knowing any information about it. Then I read Olive Again by Elizabeth Strout. I gave this 2 stars. I did not even write a review on this because I was just so bored. I did not like this book at all. Then I read Slammed by Colleen Hoover. I gave this 3 stars. It was okay, it was very funny at times, but yeah, the story was mediocre, the characters were not that great, so 3 stars. Then I read The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I gave this 5 stars. It had been in my TBR for a very long time, and since I've heard so many things about it and how it is very heartbreaking and very sad and painful, I wanted to be in the best mood possible and the appropriate mood, of course. So I kept, pushing it back. But then I finally read it. 5 stars, great book, great writing. It is a Greek mythology retelling. I am Greek, so I was very glad to read that kind of book. I would also like to read Circe by the same author. It is in my TBR, but I'm not really sure when I will be able to read it. But yes, 5 stars for The Song of Achilles. Then I read It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. I gave this 2 stars. There weren't many things I liked about this book. It was very boring. It was quite cringy at times. I did not really have a good time with this. Then I read They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. I gave this 2 stars. Honestly, I was really intrigued by the title, and I actually thought that this would be a 5-star book, but it did not meet my expectations. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either. I was actually not a fan of the writing. I don't know what it was about it, but it felt really strange, and I could not relate to, most things or most thoughts that the characters had. Then I read The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, and at this point this author became my favorite author ever. Even though she only has 2 books, The Night Circus and The Starless Sea, they are both 5-star books for me. I'm pretty sure I need therapy after this. I kept putting this book off for a very long time, just like with The Song of Achilles, because I loved The Night Circus so much, and I thought that this book would not compare with The Night Circus. So I was quite scared to read it, but when I started, I was just hooked from the very first second. This book is extremely confusing, extremely complicated, extremely perplexing, and you need to be able to concentrate and pay attention, pay very close attention, so that you don't miss any of the Easter eggs. But I don't know why, it just felt very cathartic for me. And yeah, I gave this 5 stars. I think this is my second favorite book after You've Reached Sam and The Night Circus. I'm pretty sure, yeah, this is my second favorite book, or third favorite book, whatever you want to call it. Then I read The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This was really not my cup of tea. I could not see the hype around it. I gave this 2 stars. I did not really vibe with this book. Then I read The Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. I gave this 3 stars. It was a very heartwarming story. It was a bit cheesy and cringy at times, but it was okay. I had a nice time reading it. The writing was okay. So yeah, 3 stars for this one. Then I read The Traveling Cat Chronicles. This was a very short book, so I read this in a very short time. This is by Hiro Arikawa. I gave this 5 stars, but from the beginning until, beyond the halfway point, I was not vibing with this book. I would actually give this 2 stars if it weren't for the ending. I said, It started off as a 2-star book, and around the final chapter, it became a 5-star book. Especially, this is a spoiler, especially when Satoru was admitted into the hospital. It literally broke my heart. I started crying during the final chapter, and if you know me, anything that makes me bawl my eyes out is immediately my favorite thing ever. I think this says a lot about my character, so yeah, 5 stars for this one. Then I read the Inheritance Games series. The first book, I gave this 4 stars. The second book, I gave the second book 2 stars. And the third book, 3 stars. Overall, the first one was my favorite. It was a good series, but not my favorite. Then I read the Poppy War series by R.F. Kuang. I gave all 3 books 3 stars. It was okay, not my favorite. Then I read It Starts With Us by Colin Hoover, which is, the sequel to It Ends With Us. I did not really understand why this book was even written and published, but it was okay, nothing original, nothing, groundbreaking or anything like that. Then I read Babel, or Babel, however you want to pronounce it, by R.F. Kuang. I gave this 4.5 stars. I think that this is actually a 5-star book, but I don't think I'm an intellectual and, intelligent enough to give this 5 stars. Usually I like to rate books based on my experience and, based on how I felt while reading the books. So that's why I gave this 4.5. It was a bit difficult. I'm pretty sure this will be a modern classic, in the next few years. But this was amazing. Great research and great writing. This was amazing. Then I read Normal People by Sally Rooney. 1 star. I did not like anything about this book. I'm really sorry. I'm pretty sure I don't like Sally Rooney's writing, so I don't know if I will continue to read any of her books in the future. Then I read The American Roommate Experiment by Elena Armas. This is a sequel, I think, to The Spanish Love Deception. I gave this 4.5 stars. Surprisingly, the writing was quite cheesy at times, but I had a great time with this book. So yeah, 4.5 stars. Then I read A Far Wilder Magic by Alison Saft. I gave this 3.5 stars. It was a wonderful story, but nothing too incredible, it was okay. Then I wanted to do a Christmas project where I would only read Christmas books, but this project failed, so I only managed to read, I think, around 8 books. But since they were all about the same themes and stuff like that, it became very repetitive and dull, so I stopped doing that. The first Christmas book I read was In the Event of Love. It is by Courtney Kay, I think. 3 stars. Then I read Snowed In at the Cottage by Caitlin Meadows. 3 stars. By the same author, Christmas in Magnolia Glen, a sweet Christmas romance. 2 stars. Then I read Icebreaker. This was not really a Christmas book, but it was a story about winter and winter sports, and it had a few moments that happened during Christmas. So yeah, I gave this 5 stars. I actually read the ebook version of this because I just wanted to try the ebook version. This was amazing. I could not put this down for the life of me. I just really enjoyed this book. Trigger warnings, mental health issues, body health issues, a lot of spice, in this book. Please search up the trigger warnings, but I had a wonderful time with this book. Then I read In Holidays by Christina Lauren. I gave this 3 stars. Then I read Christmas Land by Anne-Marie Meyer. I gave this 3 stars. Then I read Snowed In at Harper's Inn by Caitlin Meadows. I gave this 4 stars, and this was actually where my Christmas project ended. And then I read One Last Stop. I gave this 2 stars, but I want to read you my review of this. Going into this book, I thought that it would be 5 stars for me, but I was really disappointed. So I wrote, the premise of this book was so right up my alley, and I genuinely thought that it would become one of my favorite books ever, but I guess my expectations were too high. I'm a sucker for time travel and magical realism, my favorite genres ever, but I just could not stand the writing. When I read the plot summary, I expected it to be very heartbreaking, painful, melodramatic, and sad, which is my absolute favorite thing ever. But I was so disappointed to find out that the writing was extremely Gen Z, quirky, comedic, and sarcastic. It totally threw me off, and it prevented me from actually connecting to any of the characters. I wanted melodrama. I wanted to cry my eyes out until I couldn't breathe properly. I wanted it to completely destroy me, but all I got was secondhand embarrassment because of the cringy and pretentious writing. The pacing was so bad, and we got so much unnecessary information about the most unimportant characters that by the end of the book, I legitimately had no idea what kind of person August actually was. It felt like she was just there for no reason. I'm so upset because I wanted to love this. This marks the end of this video. Right now, I'm reading a book called Caraval, and it's actually the perfect mix of the Night Circus and the Inheritance games. So I'm really enjoying this new book. I haven't enjoyed a book this much in a very long time. I'm pretty sure it will be a 4 or 5 star book for me. So yeah, I'm really excited to finish it. I think I will be done with this book by tomorrow. But anyways, these were all of the books that I have read ever since June 28, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I started towards the end of June. And I just found a new passion, a new hobby, and that is reading books. Actually, it is listening to audiobooks because I love this experience so much. I take the audiobooks everywhere I go. I just put on my headphones and then I immerse myself into the beautiful world of reading books. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you like this new chapter, this new direction that I'm trying to take for my channel. I will continue to do K-pop and K-drama videos, but I would also like to, post a few videos about books and other hobbies of mine as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!